Hi everyone, it's Pip here from queenpipcards.com. Thanks so much for watching. Today we are going to be looking at silhouettes. I did a whole class on silhouettes and making some wow cards, and this was one of the techniques that I showed, how to do silhouettes that you might not think of doing. So lots of people use the stamps that are in the catalogue, or solid stamps, or trees, or stuff like that, but I wanted to use these more delicate ferns and stalks to give an idea of a silhouetted scene. So I won't be doing the whole card today, but what I will be showing, because you know how to stick card to paper, etc. So what I will be showing you today is how to get this background, how to do the silhouette using the Stamparatus, and what it should look like as you're going along, because it can look at times pretty rubbish. And you think, oh no, what have I done? This is going to be horrendous, but don't panic. So the first thing you need is our shimmery white cardstock. So we always use shimmery white, or I always use shimmery white for this, or the new watercolour paper actually would work too, because it's flat enough now. The new one's nice and flat, but this one is nice because it's got that little bit of a shimmer. So especially when you're doing a night scene, it's really good if you do that. And then we will need some Brayers, okay, and we will need ink, lots and lots and lots of ink. Okay, so the first thing that we do is we're going to make this background, and I always start with the lightest, and so I will use to start off with a really small amount of soft seafoam. So this is let's just get that right. Don't know if you can see that, but this is actually, it does actually say soft seafoam, but it's so soft it's hard to tell. And then I'll be using this brayer. You only need 2 brayers. You can have one for every colour that you own, but if you wash them, then you know it doesn't matter. The ink just comes out, and you're left with a nice clean base. So, and if you're going up between colours, always start with the lightest and then move up from there. So you're going to start off the paper nice, smooth, and lots of people start off this way, and I start off this way, but then I switch and I turn and I do this, almost like I'm painting a cake. That's how I call it. This is squeaking. Okay, so you're just very gently rubbing it over the surface, and you can go backwards and forwards. I would avoid going too much in the same area, and I would avoid digging too deeply into your ink pad. So you want a nice light stroke. You know, you're not pressing down hard, because then that pushes these bits into the ink, and then if you press on here you'll get smudges from the ends of your brayer. So very gently, and again always start off so that you can test your pressure, and then come on. And you might think, Pip, there's nothing going down there at all. That is just a blank piece of paper, but I can see, and I don't know, you might be able to see that actually there is a colour change, and if you lift it away you can just see the lighter and the darker on there. So can you just see that? Yeah, just about. So a little bit of colour change going on there from the green. Okay, so then I'm just very simply going to just keep rolling that until the ink's gone. I'm not seeing any come out. And then I'm going to move up to my balmy blue, and we're going to do exactly the same. Very simply. Now this one is slightly darker, and I want to start it, I don't want to go over the light here, so I'm going to start coming in from the top and coming right the way straight down to the bottom. Okay, and this, you might get a line, in which case just whizzy over the top again. Keep going in this direction, keep going in that direction. The idea is never to, but to be honest I don't really mind if there is a slight line, but the idea is to never never go too much in one place, because that's what will unless you want to, of course. That's what will give you the lines. Okay, so that's fine, I'm happy with that. As we come up, it'll look more shaded. So again, starting at the top, and I don't really mind what it looks like at the top because I will be putting a darker colour over that. So this is really just to get a decent lay down of balmy blue down here, and you can just go straight in if you want to, but it does tend to be darker. It is nice if you can just do a gradual from top to bottom. Okay, so that's a bit of balmy blue in there, and again, clean off your brush or your brayer, sponge brayer, and these are so much softer than the old rubber brayers, okay, which left lots of marks all over the place and were much harder to control. These are much softer. Now obviously you don't have to clean it off if you do happen to have one sponge that you could use, and I do, but they're all packed up in my bag ready to go off and run my class, because I'm filming this before the class so that it's all done ready for the class. Okay, so we're going to come in. I just want to see how dark that is. I'm tempted to make that a bit, so just take most of it off and then come across this. Yeah, that's better. This one belonged down here. So Coastal Cabana into balmy blue and soft sea foam. That's probably all we need. I might put a bit up here anyway, just because it's nice. It'll give a good base layer as we start to get darker, because the thing is we need it to be quite dark so that we can have a good silhouette going on. Next up, I'm going to move over to my dark Brayers. This one's had an archival ink on it at some point, so it has stained, but it isn't actually on, there's nothing actually on the sponge itself. Oh, this one's also doing a bit funny. Oh, because I haven't got it. You need to make sure that your pointy bits are actually in the holes. That might help. There we go. You can tell because it doesn't run freely if it's wrong. Okay, so now we're going to start off and on. This is such a lovely colour. I do love Blueberry Bushel. And this time we're going to come and allow it to get a little bit more, a little darker and a little more streaky. I don't mind streaks in this because you can move them out. They look a bit like clouds as you get to the final stages. Obviously I can't brayer and talk, who knew? Okay, let's try this again. Yes, so Blueberry Bushel coming down onto that balmy blue Coastal Cabana. It just changes the colour of it and it makes it a lovely, more of a summer night, I would say. I don't know why I'm saying that, but that's how it feels to me. It's more of a summer night. Now we're really starting to lay down some colour now. Just be careful of your fingers because they do pick up the dark ink. And so if you're not careful, you put your fingers on the light end and you've got dark ink on them. And then that doesn't look good. Straight in. There we go. And once you get the hang of it, you can start to fill in pieces and just do half sides, whatever you want to do to get the colours that you want. It's about just that really light stroke. Okay, so that's the Blueberry Bushel, which looks fabulous. Next up, final colour, Pretty Peacock. So try and get that off my brayer. Thing is, having a really light touch, you don't actually get very much ink on it. If you've got lots of ink on your brayer, you're pressing far too hard when you're trying to pick it up from the ink pad. Okay. And then here we come with the pretty peacock, which is a beautiful dark colour. And this we're really going to lay down some nice dark at the top of this sky. Oh yeah, there we go. Isn't that looking good? Well, you probably can't, can you see how it's probably all a bit mergy at the moment because it's all stuck in with that, with the paper that it's on. But if I take it away, and because it is shimmer, it is actually blending the ink as we go. There we go. Look at that. Is that pretty? Sort of a real ombre effect. So starting off with soft sea foam, moving up through Coastal Cabana, Bermuda Bay, Blueberry Bushel, and then finishing with Pretty Peacock. Yes. So some really gorgeous colours. And they look lovely, don't they? Who would know that they look so cool, those colours together? All of those form that. Lovely. Okay, so then the final ink that you need is a Memento or a StazOn. I prefer Memento just because it's not so unforgiving. And you need your aqua painter. So while we set up our Stamparatus, we're going to just add in some interest. So you're going to take one of our aqua painters, get it nice and wet at the tip, just let the water come down, and then we're going to flick. And you probably, hopefully, can see those going on. Now if you want really big drops, then you just start to do this and this. There we go. And you'll start to see that it is reacting with the paper. Oops. There we go. It starts to react with the paper, and you give it a minute or so to do that. And while you do that, we're going to get the Stamparatus ready. So I have my 2 stamp sets. We'll come back to that in a second. I've got 2 stamp sets loaded up on here. The first one is the Fern from Daisy Lane. Okay, so that's going to go in. And then the second lot, I've got the 2 stalks from Beautiful Bouquet. So I'm using this one and this one. And they look really tiny on the front, but they're actually much bigger in real life. You can see that it says here that these are only at 60%. So now the water's reacted, you can see how it's leaving dots on the surface of the cardstock. And then you can just take a paper towel or a tissue and do this. And then you can leave, it leaves holes behind in the water, I mean in the ink. It actually, oh there, that's a good one. Takes the water away. No, takes the ink away. Now obviously on the lighter piece it's harder to see. So you can let that do, its thing, or you can speed it up by just doing that. And you get different effects. So if you speed it up and take the ink straight off when it's wet, you get these much lighter patches. If you leave it, you get these darker patches. So we're going to need to even that up a bit. I need some lighter bits up here just to go with the lighter bits down there. There we go. All right, so whilst that's still drying a little bit, what we need to do here is work out where we're going to be positioning our, if I put this underneath, is that still going to be really bright for you? Hopefully not too bad, a little bright. I can't really do much about that because that's where my light is, unfortunately. Maybe if I bring it over here. Is that okay? Yeah, maybe. Okay, so I've already sort of worked out where I want this to be. Now, there's a reason behind why I'm using the Stamparatus when I'm actually going to take the images off the Stamparatus, and that's because it's unlikely that you will get a dark enough impression the first time. Okay, so you ink up your stamp, but because they're quite thin and wishy-washy, not wishy-washy, but they're very detailed stamps, these, okay, and because they're very detailed, sometimes they don't get as dark, they don't look as dark. So you need to go back in where maybe you didn't have enough ink, or it just didn't pick up enough ink, or whatever, and go back again. And that's where the joy of the Stamparatus comes, because you can just go straight back onto there. See, that's much better. Now I'm going to move the card along, but I'm also going to move my stamp. And so what I do for this is I get my trusty chamois. I'm going to just clean off any excess ink so that I can then lift and position. So I want this one coming in just about here, and then press down again. And it doesn't really matter then if there's a little bit, but we don't want it to, you know, I don't want to drop it and then it smudge on the cardstock. So this helps to get a really good, just know that your card is not going to move. So that you can come back and do a second generation. And you might want to actually leave some to be first generation. You know, you might not want to have it all so dark, but since it's a silhouette, I'm kind of wanting it to be dark. Okay, so that's that. The final piece that you're going to do is you're going to just add these little coney thing. I don't know what it's called. It's the end of a flower. So we're just going to add that here, just to give us a bit more interest going on. And then this one. There we go. Maybe here. I might do more of these than I did on the last one actually, because I think I like these. There we go. Need any more? No, I think that's it. Right, so there we go. And then the last thing you do is bring back this, and I try and use a piece of post-it notes, and I'm going to make it straight this time. It was crooked last time. I had a wave to it, but I actually want to make it straight. So we go up as far as the end of the stems, like so, and then with a dauber and your memento ink pad, you just come on and do this. And this takes a while, so I won't show you all of it, but you get the idea. And then when you peel that off, you have your silhouette line there. So there you go. Silhouettes with the Stamparatus and some sponge brayers. I hope you've enjoyed today. Check out all the details below, and I'll see you again soon. Thanks ever so much for watching. You take care. Bye.